Welcome to the BRC Navigator webinar training series. In this video, our trainer Brian will walk us through the suitability transfer process of the BRC Navigator program portal. If you are having difficulties with topics covered in this video, please submit a help desk ticket at mass.gov/EEC-BRC or call the EEC BRC Contact Center at 617-988-7841.
For a suitability transfer, if there's a candidate that comes into your office, into your program, and they want a job with you, and they are currently working at another umbrella. So let's say I'm Berkshire YMCA, and someone has come into my office and they currently work at KinderCare. You can do, if it's GSA to GSA under different umbrellas, you can do a suitability transfer and just move that person from umbrella to umbrella. So we're going to walk through this first, and then we will walk through a resubmission and a renewal. So if you go back, I'm going to go back into the portal, and we are going to do a new submission. So if at this point, the person that currently works at KinderCare has most likely provided you a consent form, you have the information, and you are going to type it in just like you're doing a new submission. So I'm going to do, this individual has come in. I know they work in a different, they tell me that they work at KinderCare. I want them to work at the Berkshire Family YMCA. So we are going to type in his information. And so what it's going to do is it's going to search the whole database for NIBRAIN. That's the candidate we're going to bring in. So you need to make sure, just like a new applicant or anything else, you want to make sure you're typing in the accurate information. Now, if you remember on the new submission, when we hit search, we didn't find anyone, okay? That's because they're not in the database. So we have the applicant consent is received. I'm going to click on that radio button. I've typed in NIBRAIN, first, last name, date of birth, and applicant social. I'm going to hit search. Okay, so different than the new submission, NIBRAIN has appeared. We have found him. He's obviously working at a different umbrella, so that's why he's not on our rosters. But this has gone out into the application and found him. So what you're going to need to do now, okay, if they're transferring from umbrella to umbrella, it is important that they have an email address different between the umbrellas. So I'm going to go into the view details option. And I am going to just edit this person's email address. In theory, if it's an employee, if it's a BRC program admin and you're doing it, yes, you would definitely need to have different email addresses because they would be logging in to the Navigator. If it's an employee or a volunteer or intern, they can use the same email address. So from here, I'm just going to go in and change the person's email address. The reason why I'm going to do that is because I can show you the information they get when we submit this. So I'm going to use a different email address. And I'm going to hit save and close. And once you see I hit save and close, the email will be updated. Okay. And from here, you're going to be able to go into actions and transfer suitability. So we'll choose transfer suitability. Okay. So now, as a licensee in Berkshire Family YMCA, I'm going to choose the program that I want them to work at. I'll leave as employee, and I'm going to hit submit. Okay, the candidate, see the banner up top? The candidate has received an email notifying them that they would like that you would like information about their BRC status and asking them to respond in the candidate's information. So the candidate's information can be transferred. Then more information will appear in the BRC Navigator. So this is important because the applicant, I'm going to close that banner, and I'm going to sign out of here just for the time being. I'll sign back in. But real quick, when I do that, I just want to show you, I'm going to search for brain. Okay. So you can see that the request type is a suitability transfer. They do show up on your applicants tab. So you've basically started their new application with the Berkshire family. Okay. So I'm going to sign out real quick. And I'm going to show you what the candidate would receive. So if I go to my email address that I just put in there, I'm doing this basically just for just to show you the candidate and what they would have received. Okay, so see on the top here, so suitability determination transfer. So this, if I'm sitting, so NiBrain came into your office, gave you his consent form, you inputted all the information, you processed, you went in and entered basically the suitability transfer, they would get this email, and once they click on it, it's a request to transfer suitability determination. This is just showing you what they would do. Why did you receive this correspondence? What does this mean for me? What do you need to do? So when they click here, it'll be 7 questions that they have to answer to get through. Okay, so it automatically comes up. It's a generic page. It's not necessarily, I know it looks like the program portal. It's not associated with the program portal. It's an outside service. So one thing I want to be clear on here is if they click on no, so I'll leave it here for 30 seconds. You can read the questions. Okay. So hopefully you got that and were able to digest. This person has answered no for all of these. They're going to submit. Thank you for submitting your suitability transfer. The candidate he's done. NiBrain is done. They're going to close that. I am, as a program, I'm going to log back in. So let's say the candidate, acted fairly quickly, answered those questions, got back to you. You go back into the program portal. Again, dual factor authentication includes password. And again, you can see the email comes very quickly. You always use the most recent one. I'm going to continue with authentication. Authentication is successful. Close that. Go back to the original login page, and that should refresh. Okay, so now the applicant should appear in the program portal under the applicants tab with a request type suitability transfer and a request status of completed. So you remember when I showed you earlier, it said it was in process before we logged out. So I'm going to go to the applicants tab. We're going to find brain, and we're going to search on that. Okay, request status is completed. It is a suitability transfer. Okay, that's the request type that'll stay. And now they are suitable. Okay, so it is that easy. If they are suitable and they're working in another program and their fingerprint is up to date, you can transfer their suitability that quickly. From here, you would go into the actions and you can hire this person. They automatically get removed from the applicants tab and they would go into the all staff. So I'm just going to drop this filter or drop that search field, search on all, because we don't have that many candidates, that many staff here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 down is Brain with a suitability transfer. It was completed. They are in hired employment status and suitable. Okay, so that's great. You can go into this person's documents as well, and there should be additional information here. There isn't. It's because they came from another program. So that's why that's not populated. It's only new submissions that would get the fingerprint letter because they didn't have a fingerprint. They were already processed. They didn't need one. So that's why that fingerprint letter is not there. All right. So we're going to go back out. Now, the one piece here, if it's a candidate that came over from the legacy BRC manager, they wouldn't show up as it wouldn't say under the request type suitability transfer. It would say a partial resubmission. So if we get onto Ollie Glover here, you can see they're in a legacy hired status. That means they came over from the original, from the legacy BRC manager where the old BRC requests were entered. You can see for Brain, they don't have that legacy in front of it. That means they were processed in the new system and the suitability transfer happened in the new system. So don't be alarmed if you do see a partial resubmission. That is a suitability transfer. It's just a differentiator between the person being transferred from a legacy BRC manager to the new program. Okay. Now, the one thing you need to be aware of, if the applicant answers yes to any of those questions that we just showed, then the suitability is not automatically transferred. However, the applicant status does change. The applicant will remain on the applicant tab in a saved status. The program would need to process a resubmission for the candidate. The candidate would receive an email notification that the suitability transfer failed based on the responses they provided. So if they answered yes for any of those, that suitability transfer would fail, and they would need to get their BRC run again. The program is notified through the cancel request need action queue. So if that for some reason if they failed or they answered yes, you would see it right here. Need action. Canceled request. It would show up as a canceled. That would be one.